What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Random Album Reviews. This is the segment on my channel where I spin a random wheel, it selects a letter, and I pick a random album from my record collection and talk about it with you today. And I've been having a ton of fun doing this series. What's so cool for me is, obviously, I review a ton of movies and I love talking about film, but music was one of my first passions in life. I love music. Music means the world to me. And when I talk about music, it's very different than the approach that I have to discussing film. And I was hoping that in doing this, that it would kind of enhance my knowledge for how I speak about music and about the music that I love. And so I hope you guys are enjoying this. And I hope that if you've had the opportunity, that you've been able to check out some of these records that possibly you'd never listened to before. My favorite thing in the world is kind of expanding my music taste. I listen to a lot of genres of music. I'm not really closed off to anything other than probably country, which is the only genre that I really don't listen to much of. But aside from that, I really enjoy like experiencing new genres of music and trying different things out. And I hope that that's what I can do for you now is to provide you some music you might not have heard before. And so like we always do, I have the wheel up on screen right now and it is spinning, and we are going to figure out which letter of the alphabet that we get today. And today it looks like we have landed on the letter T. So I am going to go out to my record collection, grab an artist that starts with the letter T, and we are going to jump into this review. So I'm back today and I grabbed an album. I actually grabbed two different variants of this. This is one of my favorite records of all time from an artist that I'm not sure a lot of you might have heard of. Some of you out there might listen to these guys. But the artist I'm going to be talking about today is This Town Needs Guns, who are now referred to as ttng. They kind of shortened the name. And I'm going to be talking about their record Animals. And this variant of the original album is just a clear variant. But I also brought this one on so that you guys could see it too. A few years ago, they did a tour where they played this album through all the way in its entirety. And they also released an acoustic version of the record. And so I have that, and it's in this like transparent kind of, I think they typically call this like Coke bottle green variant. But I learned about This Town Needs Guns through a lot of the different artists that I listen to more in the emo alternative scene. This is particularly referred to as math rock by a lot of people because of the technicality in the guitar work and the drums and the music. And I remember the first song that I ever heard is actually a bonus track off of Animals, which is called If I Sit Still, Maybe I'll Get Out of Here. And I was completely and totally enthralled by the sound of the band. I felt like I heard music similarly before, but not necessarily in the same vein. And This Town Needs Guns is a very interesting music group for a multitude of reasons. Number one, they started as a band with a lead vocalist and as a full group, and after the first EP they released and this record, the vocalist of their band actually left, and they had a new guy come in and he started playing bass, and he took over as the front man and sang for them through a couple of records following that. And when they returned to play this album in full, their original vocalist came back around. So the band has kind of shifted trajectory over time. But what made me fall in love with this record overall is the sound of the instrumentation on this record. I cannot commend the musicians in this group enough for just the attention to detail in the guitar work. If you've never heard this style of music before, just the changes in tempo, the way the guitar, it's almost like it's hard to describe. The music's very like airy and light in moments, but the intricacies of like the way that the guitar player is strumming the guitar and just how quickly they move from note to note is what enthralls me with this style of music. And also the drumming is so incredibly technical. I play drums and I probably could not play a lot of the music on this record because of just how amazingly technical it is. As funny as it is for being a subgenre of like rock, it feels almost like jazz in its execution. There's so much about it where typically, the drums are the foundational part of a track. And that's true with ttng's music, but it also can feel sort of freeform in a way. And even the bass, there's a lot of really incredible bass riffs on this record that just play together so very well. And I think the the having all of these instruments culminate together to create just an immersive experience. There's nothing like putting this album on and just kind of turning off the lights and closing your eyes and completely and totally immersing yourself in the beauty of this album. And each and every song on the record is named after a different animal. And lyrically on this record, there's some really like beautiful lyrics. Most of the subject matter on this album is about relationships and struggles in relationships, like a lot of alternative rock emo music from this era. But what I really like is how vividly certain scenarios are painted through the lyricism on this record. There's so many distinctive lines on this album that just stick out to me over and over again when I revisit it. And it's Stewart's vocals on this record that really hit it home so hard. He has such a beautiful voice, has a higher range to it, but he does such an amazing job at utilizing his voice in particular moments in songs to just perfectly get across the real intense raw emotion that the lyricism is trying to paint. And that's another one of the things that I really like about this record, is that although the themes on it aren't super complex and complicated, and a lot of the situations that they're discussing on the album are things that if you've been in a relationship or had relationship struggles, they're things that you can relate to very easily. But it's because of the dynamic of his voice and the way that it's being delivered that makes it so easy to attach yourself onto and experience the journey. And that's what I love about this record, is the complexity of the instrumentation mixed with the really amazing vocal performances are what make it such a unique experience. And there's one track on this record called Elk that is a completely and totally instrumental track that has trumpet kind of as the leading driving force. And that's another track on this record that like I constantly revisit because it just transports me to another world. And that's what I'll say for this entire record, is I just feel like I'm transported to another place every time I listen to it. And I'll go 2 or 3 months without listening to a song on this album. And it's one of those things where if I click start on one of the tracks, I always feel like I have to start the album from the top to the bottom. And I showcased the acoustic version of the record. And when I listened to it the first time, I was curious, like, how would these songs, because of the level of technicality with the electric guitar and the bass and the drumming, how would that translate over into an acoustic version? And I think they do a really phenomenal job with it. I feel like the acoustic renditions of this, they provide something very special to the album listening experience, which is what makes the two distinctly different. And this group, they haven't toured in quite a while. I think since the reunion tour. They're located in the UK. And I've never got to see them perform live, which is one of the things that upsets me the most, because I would have loved to have seen these guys perform live. Unfortunately, when they did their reunion tour for this record, they did not come anywhere near me. Some artists just don't come anywhere near Ohio when they come around, unfortunately. But I've watched so many live videos, and they just have such an incredible stage presence. And like, they just sound like the album is translated directly to live. And this is one of those groups that, like, no matter what style or genre you listen to, I think you can find something to appreciate with ttng's music. And I'm talking about Animals a lot, but I do feel like post Animals, even when Stu left, their vocalist, and the new vocalist took over, they managed to keep their sound but do something very different with it. And I appreciate those albums just as much, but this album is fundamentally what made me fall in love with their music, and it's an album that I consistently revisit year after year. So if you listen to This Town Needs Guns, Animals, do you love it? Do you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I think this record is brilliant. It's one of my favorites in my collection, and I love revisiting it. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.